Okay, we on again, guys. This is the start of a new group of guys for the 2023 season. And we've had a nice signing date. This is kind of our time of year. Back the big boys now, the Power 5 guys, mostly do their recruiting, for the early signing date. Well, this is our turn to get most of our guys an opportunity to show their wares that way. So we think we are going to sign by the end of the day, somewhere in about the 17 range. We actually had 3 guys that we signed mid-year, 2 grad transfers and 1 portal guy. The rest of our class now, we'll add a little bit of everything. We didn't sign a quarterback. That's kind of a usual for us. We generally will sign one of those, but I think that we've got a good class of quarterbacks in here, and if we do after the spring, we'll try to figure out exactly how best to attack that. We most likely would try to maybe work the portal for an older guy that way. But hopefully what will happen is we'll have a really good spring with those guys that we got returning. And at that point, we're going about the task of just using the guys that we got in our program now. But we've got 4 or 5 quarterbacks in our system, and we like them all. We thought that those guys really came along nicely. If we can get Andre Washington, the young guys, Marcus Freeman, Prometheus Franklin, those 3 freshman guys, some good solid experience this spring. I think Prometheus might not necessarily be quite ready. Had that ACL surgery right at the beginning of December. But the rest of those guys should get good work this spring, and at that point then we'll decide exactly how we go from there. But we signed a tight end, we signed a couple of really good wide receivers. We signed the Johnson kid from over in Sumter County. We signed a kid from Hilton Head, the Linden kid. We really like those guys as far as being big size guys. We think that those guys are the right kind of personnel that we can add to our program that can give us some immediate help. We signed running backs. We had a little bit of a rough year last year with our running back core. We've got a couple of freshman running backs coming back, but we signed 4. Tyler Smith from over at Barnwell is probably the one that most people recognize, but we signed a Cochran kid from down Augusta, Georgia, right across the line. That's kind of new for us. The fact that we've got the opportunity now to sign those Georgia and North Carolina kids, and they'll be in-state kids now, is giving us a little different expanded recruiting area because of the fact that we don't necessarily have to deal with the out-of-state fees on those guys anymore, which is a neat little ability to have now. So, and then of course we signed an offensive lineman or 2. Really like the Liggins kid from over in Saluda County, over in Aiken County, over Ridge Spring, Monetta. Big, good-looking kid, excellent student, and and then last but not least, we've got another, I think, good class of just all-around personnel, a little bit of everything in a way that it gives us a chance to replenish our team in a way that we should be good for years to come. Questions?
Coach, when you look at the tight end spot, some of your success in the past came from the tight, from having decent tight ends back during your career. How important was to bring in a tight end?
Well, the first thing we did was we went out and got us a JC tight end, a grad transfer tight end, which is really, one of the most important things we could do. A guy that you can pretty much bet on, will be a guy that can help us right now, that's played some. And, I just didn't, want to go out and try to see if we could try to use a freshman. But now we did sign Nicholas Brown. He's a great looking kid from over King Street. And he may be able to help us. Tight end is such an integral position, such a tough man position until it kind of scares you a little bit when you start talking about trying to get that guy ready to play right now. But, that's the reason why we went out and signed a grad transfer guy, but at the same time, we took a high school guy that we think is really a good player. It just takes a little while to develop him. We got 3 or 4 tight ends in our system here now that, you know, that we were thinking that would be further along. Hopefully one of those guys will grow up and have a good spring for us. And then at that point, then we'll be able to maybe set the edge a little bit better, you know, with those guys this coming season.
Sure.
Coach, so many of your guys that are on this list play a lot of different positions in high school. How important is that coming into where maybe you recruit a guy at a running back, but you're, you know, maybe be able to put a little weight on him and play him at a different position later
It's
on?
a great point. That down the hall there, Joe Thomas is down there right now watching film. And, you know, you look at the guys that we signed at running back in particular, we signed 4 of them. And just to give an example, Casey Fields is a great looking kid from down at Buford. And, you know, in a case where if that guy is not the guy at running back right now, he may end up being the guy at linebacker or maybe even at wide receiver or defensive back and some of that kind of stuff. Those guys generally the best players on their teams. And they generally develop in ways where they get bigger and stronger and all kinds of things as they grow older. So, you know, the one thing you like about him is having a real athletic guy, you know, who's got some toughness. He's a behind his pads guy, you know, then I think you find a way to get him on the field some kind of way. So it's always plenty of room on a team for those guys. They make especially good special teamers and all that kind of stuff. So you get an opportunity to really deepen your team's depth in a lot of ways with running backs in ways that you can't with some other positions.
You touched on it at the beginning, but struggled to run the football last year. This feels like a class that is tailored towards getting back to running the football like South Carolina State normally does.
And we've lost one offensive lineman, and I've been going out in the mornings watching our guys running here. You know, I'm excited by what I see with our offensive line guys, but we signed a couple of offensive linemen in this class too, and you know, one of them, you know, is a, you know, I think possible big timer. So, you know, if we can get our offensive line really going again, I think if we return most of that group from last year and then we add a guy or 2 to it to really solidify them in a way that we get a good solid up front group, then that gives us the opportunity to be able to possibly run the football again in the way that we could back in the old days. And we'll have our, you know, we'll have our old running style back some. We got our new offensive coordinator here today, and I'm excited about him. And a large portion of the reason why he's back here is because we ran the football better doing his day here than we had in some time now. So we'll get, you know, we'll get these guys along with the know-how from, you know, from our staff in the changeover to be able to run the football, we think, better again.
Last year, you had a lot to show recruits as far as coming off a Celebration Bowl win. You had trophies you could take into homes.
Yeah.
This year, you were a little down. What was the pitch you were giving to these guys this year?
Well, anybody can see that we need help. I think was the big talk of this year. You know what? That was a strange deal last year. You know, coming off of the fun year that we had. You know, our team really wasn't that much different. We got to remember that our team ended up just came to over 500. Even in that season, we got hot at the very end and were able to, you know, have a great Celebration Bowl and do a nice job there. But you know, our whole schedule is close as all get out, and I'm telling our guys now, you know what, we're not that far off from where we were the year before, and if we can get the right people in place and really do a good job of developing this team along like we did the previous